a retail market analysis of their proposal for the city of Salmon Arm and surrounding region. The applicant has submitted a letter which outlines their rationale. And so I saw that letter of opinion that was put. Could I ask staff they would like to see in that retail market analysis?
I guess the purpose that I recommend when it comes in to see us about an application, we tell them what's required and other things they should consider as part of their package. In this particular case, based on some of the community interest and some of the discussion that has occurred in anticipation of this application, and then secondly, as part of the previous Loblaws application, the old Jail Jackson site, staff recommended that the developer consider providing some sort of retail analysis of demand for retail space here, that sort of thing, how that may fit into the local market, both in the Salmon Arm trade area. We don't ask for these things on a regular basis, nor do we recommend them. There's other commercial developments that occur in the city, but based on the scale of this one, it's something that was recommended that they may wish to consider. And what they considered was providing some of the rationale that's outlined in that second November 7th letter. Great, thank you.
Councillor Flynn. Related to Councillor Harris's amendment, I do feel that I'd like to see us put in a covenant, and I don't know if this is premature or not, to restrict it to one financial institution. The allowance of financial institutions, do we want to just leave that till that point in time as well?
Well, seeing as how the last was defeated, I think the rationale for that would be the same for any other amendment.
So that's fine. I'll wait and see then.
Try. Councillor Cannon. Councillor.
Thank you, Your Worship. In relation to my previous inquiry and in relation to the presence of, for example, Councillor Lyson raised the inclusion in the zoning for a fuel service station. I'd also like, I would guess through staff's research or input, additional sort of information on what, in terms of environmental precautions, we might want to more seriously consider, or covenants or whatever on the site, recognizing that again, highway commercial and so on, is intended to be a commercial development. But like I said, in relation to the proximity to the Salmon River and a variety of other concerns that way, while I may not be able to ask for the same as what Walmart was considering in the South of Vancouver, certainly, like I said, I have some concerns about the relationship of the proximity element to the river, and then the other concern I have is in relation to sort of the general location of the community in terms of population density, and recognizing that the highway will have to be 4 lane to really truly accommodate this development's access and so on. Is the concern that whether or not our existing public transportation system, in particular I'm talking transit, will be able to accommodate, including sort of delivering people to the city if they want to travel in a car. And so it's that type of sort of overall sort of environmental elements, not necessarily asking for it to be the greenest location in North America, but those elements, like I said, I'd certainly like some input as to what council can either require or at least heavily encourage should we wish the development to go ahead. And I don't know whether that needs to come in the form of direction to staff or just an actual motion, but I'm certainly curious as to what level we can go to inquiring about additional environmental sensitivities in relation to the site.
Over and above what's mandated by law?
Over and above in terms of the significant environmental impacts that this may have in relation to the proximity to the river and stuff. So again, it's more just, like I said, to what degree we can be a little more sensitive, because I think it's much like any of the development that's close to the lake. There is the riparian elements, but again, like I said, I think we have to be concerned about how much density we put right close to any watercourse.
Administrator, would that be something to be addressed in the development permit?
Your worship, through the development permit, we can only really enforce our official community plan. So we really don't have the statutory authority to go beyond that.
Well, like I said, if there are other communities that have ever ventured in that direction, certainly I'd be interested in terms of what they have considered in relation to large-scale commercial developments instances, if anything we found.
Go ahead.
I just want to make a point. It's a proposed use. It's not something that would necessarily be on the site. And a gas station, in my experience in development, would front the highway.
I understand that. Just again, it's been a concern in a number of other locations in our community that why do we need another gas station? And gas stations have bulk levels of issues with. I know they're designed very well these days to ensure contamination doesn't occur, but even then, it's in a floodplain and all those other elements. So it's one of those things that I tend to be a tad bit more sensitive to.
Councillor Elias.
Yeah, thanks. The comments that Councillor Jen brings up are, I think, pretty relative to what Councillor Harrison mentioned straight off. Is the time of this to a development permit? We don't have a DP with this. It makes it really difficult for us to go ahead and talk about where a gas station or transit hub would go, or how this all links in, forming character of buildings and building footprint. And so, again, I think that comes back to something like a gas station, the economic value of having it as highway frontage, or if it takes away from our downtown. Same thing with the bank. Key things, I think, at a public hearing. So it strengthens, in my opinion, the need for a DP for this.
Councillor Flynn.
Thank you, Your Worship. Appendix 8, this is related to Councillor Eliason's questions earlier about a little bit more park space. Appendix 8 is the only appendix that shows the Salmon River coming back on the property by the proposed residential area. The other maps, it makes it look like the Salmon River is a long ways or a ways away from them. And this relates to the green space. That's supposed to, the intent of the green space at this point was only 5 meters, but if the salmon really on the property, you're going to have your regular riparian setbacks, and it probably does make sense for that to stay parkland, doesn't it, that piece?
Yeah, there's a couple points there. The parkland is approximately in this location here, to account for the storm pond. And then the riparian area that runs through in the green. The green that's shown up on top there is the riparian.
That's the riparian
area. And that would be done by covenant. What's been proposed by the applicant for the pedestrian access along the north property line, the east property line is the statutory right away. Have that in place. And then secondly, if it were to be developed in the future, we also recognize that maybe a different location in there could occur for the trail connection.
Okay. So part of this rezoning, we could ask for a higher percentage of, or rather than just the statutory right of way, we could ask for more park along that north by the riparian area.
I'm sure you'd ask for it.
That is.
I just want to clarify, every time somebody sees green, in a development, they'll see red. This Hobbs Creek, is that an issue? Is that a fish bearing? Is that, I'm sure there's going to be some reaction to something we call Hobbs Creek being put into a culvert.
Yeah, the contrarian areas regulation, there's all kinds involved there. At least there's water, the section of Hobb Creek's essentially Shuswap Lake, based on the provincial requirements. Consultants has assessed the creek, and so there's the 12.89 meter riparian area on either side. What's being recommended by the consultant is that the actual habitat value that occurs in this location here can be replaced and enhanced, incorporated as part of the storm pond in this location up here. So there's not what exists. It's in fact enhanced.
Thank you. Councillor Cannon.
So is it a ditch then, or is there actual...
If there's fish or not, it depends on a whole number of criteria as part of the definition. And the riparian area can apply to ditches or whatnot if they don't have fish, but they contribute to fish habitat, meaning the water there ends up in the lake.
But is there habitat already in that area right there? Like is it a biologist that did a study in that area there?
It's a qualified environmental professional that's accredited through the province and is recognized as doing these things. They look at existing and potential habitat.